around. I was on the tracks when the gate came down. Suddenly I recognized those bloodshot rearview mirror eyes as mine. I heard that whistle call my name. I almost drove away, but naked eyes, and a feeling that you would be all that way. So I just waited there for you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Record Release Friday. We're having a record release party. Josh Caterer is here. John San Juan is here. John Perrin is here. We've got representatives from Smoking Popes, NRBQ, Hushdrops. We're here at Chicago for Real. We are so excited to be here tonight to celebrate the release of this gem, Josh Caterer, the Hideout Sessions. So, Josh, we're bringing Josh in any minute. Where is he? There he is.
Hey, good to see you.
So good to see you too. Okay, can you just please, I can't get over it. Can you talk to me about your drapes? Can you tell me about your drapes?
There's not much I can tell you about my drapes, other than that my wife has really good taste.
They're fantastic.
Yes. She has an eye for, decor that has kind of a late 60s kind of vibe to it. So, there's little gems like that all over our house.
Ah, you're lucky. You're a lucky man, Josh Caterer.
I know it. I know it.
And you're also lucky because today's the big day. Day for your record release. How excited are you?
As excited as a man can be. I'm very excited. Been looking forward to it for so long. And yet at the same time, it feels like it weirdly just happened because I remember, but at this time last year, I didn't even have any idea that I would be releasing a solo album and that it would be a live album and that I would be playing with John Perrin and John San Juan on it. Like that's all an idea that didn't even exist until about September of last year. And now here we are.
It was just a month. It wasn't like it was percolating all spring and summer. It just percolating.
It was something like just like this pent up kind of like repressed frustration about not being able to play shows and feeling, what everybody is feeling, just like this kind of malaise. I would describe it as a malaise. Sometimes I get malaise confused with ennui.
Let's talk about that. I think we should unpack that for a second. What is the distinction between malaise and ennui for you, Josh Caterer?
Well, I looked it up because I was using ennui because I like the word. But then I looked it up and it turns out it's not applicable in the way I thought. Because ennui is more like boredom.
Right.
Whereas malaise is like a more active feeling of being unwell, like there's just something wrong.
Right. Like there's a level of sadness there. So it's almost like with malaise, bear with me a second. Malaise is like mayonnaise and ennui is like Miracle Whip. Because Miracle Whip has a little zip to it. Malaise is just a little bit more mayonnaise.
Okay. But it's got nothing to do with the fact that malaise and mayonnaise sound similar.
It does, but it works.
It's confusing.
It's confusing.
But I think we were all experiencing some malaise over the summer. They just kept building and building. And then, roundabout, end of August, beginning of September, I feel like I only had this idea for about a week before I actually called John Perrin and said, "Hey man, are you doing anything? Like, can we do something? You want to play some music?" because I'm getting itchy. Like I gotta do something. Maybe we could do something, but we need a bass player. And I said, I'm kind of thinking about asking John San Juan. And he said, I think that would be a fantastic idea. And so I did. I called him, and then you know, I had to first of all establish whether, you know, these guys actually felt comfortable getting together, and we would have to. This was the initial discussions were, are we going to be able to find a place that, you know, has enough room in it, where we can be kind of distant from each other, and you know, are you cool with getting together if we wear masks? And like, obviously I'm going to take it off when I sing, but like, we'll kind of be careful. And are you comfortable with that? I didn't want to, like, you don't want your enthusiasm about, oh, I'd love to play music, like get out ahead of the things that you have to be conscientious about in the current situation. So we had those discussions, and then within a week or so after talking to the guys, we were getting together and, you know, starting to work on the material.
Yeah. And when we're talking about the material here, I have to say this track list is just amazing. And it's amazing how it feels like I could have listened to this in 1945. I could listen to it now in 2021. It all feels relevant and it all feels together. How did you choose which Smoking Popes songs to play, and how did you choose which sort of golden era standards to play?
Okay, well, I'll start with the standards part of it, because I wanted to continue to explore an idea that the Smoking Popes were working with several years ago when we made this album called The Party's Over, which is an album of covers where we did like, you know, Zing Went the Strings of My Heart, and Stormy Weather, and Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, like old standards, you know, like songs that Sinatra and Judy Garland and people like that were singing, and which is a genre of music that I've always dearly loved, and just the quality of songwriting is so profound from the good songs of that era. And so that was a really fun Smoking Popes project to do, and I always wanted to explore that a little bit more because there's so much material there. And so this seemed like an opportunity to do that, since it's not like I had, you know, a batch of songs that I had written or that I was in the middle of like working on, like writing stuff. It was more like, I want to play. And so we have to work with material that's already been written, because at least for me, the writing process is pretty long and arduous. And the writing process for me doesn't work well if there's pressure. Like, we have to have 5 songs by Saturday. Like, I can't write under those conditions, you know.
You're not the pressure writer. There are some people that's the thing. They want the pressure.
Some people are. But once we have the material, then getting together and working on arrangements is just fun. Like, that doesn't feel like pressure, you know. So this was cool that we already had the material, but like I had a bunch of songs in mind. We just had to get together and see if the arrangements were going to work. And I started by making some demos, just like guitar and voice demos, just on my the voice memos on my phone, and then sending those to the guys so that they could have some sense of like, here's the song that I have in mind, and here's the basic structure of it. But then once you're going to add drums and bass to it, it's going to change. And I went into this thinking that these songs were going to be like mellower than they ended up being. I don't know why I thought that.
It's interesting. Some of them sound, they're slippery in their mellowness, because as soon as you slip into the mellowness, a guitar solo comes in or there's a riff, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
there's an edge to the mellow.
We try to have dynamic in each of the songs, but there's definitely some genuine rock and roll happening in each of these songs. And we ended up rocking harder than I thought we would when we first got together. But like that's just naturally where things went. And you know, it's not like I was trying to suppress that. I was like, okay, I guess we're a rock band.
Well, the whole point of going into this was not to suppress anything. The whole point was to go in and have fun and play rock and roll, right? It
ended up being as cathartic as it needed to be. So,
yeah. So, okay, so that kind of covered the golden era songs. How did you, from your Smoking Pope songs, how did you decide which ones from the Caterer catalog, the Caterer log?
Yeah, I wanted to pick some songs from that I had written that sort of have qualities that I thought were similar to the golden era songs that we were covering, because I thought it might be cool to show some continuity in between my writing and the writing that influenced my writing. For example, one of the old songs that we cover on the album is "What Kind of Fool Am I?" Which is an old one that was like the most popular version of it is from Sammy Davis Jr. His version of it is amazing. And I've always loved that song. And then when I wrote Need You Around, it's not like I was intentionally trying to copy What Kind of Fool Am I? But as soon as I wrote Need You Around, I realized that it had a lot of similarity, at least from my vantage point. There were things about the melody and the sort of the cadence of it that were similar to What Kind of Fool Am I? And which I liked. And but I thought like putting those two songs actually next to each other on the record would show the connection between the two in hopefully an interesting way. So
it's interesting. You're adding a little origin story of your songs. The origin stories are sort of weaved into the set list.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, you know, for those that are thinking about such things. Otherwise, you can just listen to the record and enjoy it. However you want. You can think about it or not. Right.
Well, what were you thinking about prior to putting this out and prior to getting the John Perrin and John San Juan together? Were you struggling with writing? Like, did you want to write new material? Were you having writer's block? Like, what did the pandemic do to the creative side?
Well, I didn't know. I mean, the Smoking Popes had put out an album at the end of 2018, and we did some touring through the end of 18 into 19, and we kind of like completed the touring cycle for that album called Into the Agony. And then we had a few shows booked for 2020, but I didn't know if we were gonna you know, record anything. I sort of wait to just until the creative juices start flowing. You know, I don't force it. I know that some songwriters do. Like I'm gonna write a song a week or, you know, whatever. But I just kind of wait until until the songs kind of start popping out. And so then going into 2020, like just with the ambiguity of everything that was happening in the world and the prospect that you know, there might not be any shows on the immediate horizon. I don't know. I hadn't written anything, and I just didn't know. It just seemed like the Smoking Popes probably weren't going to do anything until things open up again, because we don't all live that close to each other anymore. So it's like hard to get together, and we only would get together if there was something specific we were going to do, like a tour or an album, neither of which were on the horizon for us. So I was just like, I don't know. There were no plans, and I didn't feel all I had going through the summer was like this realization that the shutdown was really bumming me out, and I was missing performance. I was missing musical performance more than I ever thought I could, you know, because like there were times in my past, years ago, when I like took a break from performing voluntarily for, you know, a few years just for personal reasons. And so I thought that I just was like this person who could take it or leave it, you know, like I could walk away from it and I'll be fine. You know?
Well, it's easier when you have a choice, right?
Yeah, like,
it wasn't ripped from your hands.
It's my choice, then like I can own it. But like when it just happened to me, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want to, you know, it's sort of like you don't know what you got till it's gone. Like you know, after a few months of not playing music, I was just like, I don't know if I can take this. I've got to do something. Something's got to happen.
Something's got to go.
The project was born of necessity, like emotional and psychological need.
Yeah. Well, okay. So typically when you talked about the songs and you wait for the songs to pop, would you say that the songs pop because of a need, because of that psychological, emotional need, and that's when the songs pop, and that this process ended up being your creative process instead of the songwriting? Like what makes the songs pop?
Oh, totally. It's hard to describe. I don't even know. It's not like I could ever draw a line where it's like, you know, something happened that I need to write about or anything, or like I'm feeling a certain way and I need to express that emotion. It's more like it's like an internal like restlessness. You can just feel like there's something.
You're making songwriting sound like indigestion. It's like spiritual indigestion turns into a song.
It's more like a certain feeling of pressure in there that just needs to, you know, and the only thing the only valve for it is to pick up an instrument and play, but like not just playing, like the songwriting process is a specific kind of thing. It's not like jamming. It's like you have to go to a place within that is difficult to get to. You know, I've heard a lot of creative people talk about this, like, and what I've heard people say that I can relate to is like, I don't actually enjoy writing. I enjoy having written, and I enjoy the relief of it because you feel like you need to write.
Yeah. But
the process of getting whatever's in there out into a complete written thing is not particularly, it doesn't feel good when it's happening. It feels good when you're done. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I noticed myself that the idea part can be fun, or like the knowing, oh, there's a spark, right? Like that part can be fun. Mm-hmm. But then having it come out and actually craft it, that can be just a royal pain.
Yeah, totally.
So you're not one of those guys that sits around and is like waiting for the muse and it comes from like it you know, it drops like a stork drops a baby. It's not like that.
No. And well, okay, now that I'm thinking about it, mm-hmm. I'm realizing that perhaps why I haven't written as much during the lockdown that was taking place in 2020 is that a lot of my initial ideas for songs come while I'm driving. And I did a lot less driving in 2020. I think a lot of people did, other than truck drivers who were considered essential workers. But like, I just wasn't doing, you know, because we weren't doing like anything long distance. I wasn't going to visit people. You know, we weren't doing any out of town stuff. So I don't know. A lot of times I'll just be like, if there's some sort of a long drive going on, I'll put on like some music, like some old music. Like I'll listen to the 40s channel on Sirius XM, which is like that. I live there. That's a beautiful place to be. And I'll just sort of get into the zone. I'll just sort of marinate in that stuff, and I'll find an idea for a song start to percolate, and then I'll grab onto some nugget of that, and then I'll maybe develop it in my mind, but then when I get to wherever I'm going, maybe I can jot some stuff down or find a guitar and start, kneading the dough out. But that process didn't happen at all in 2020.
Yeah.
So the writing part of it was just gone.
Well, the way you describe that, it's like space, like having the space, whether it's the space on the road or the space in your brain or the space in your house or whatever the space is, like to just not have the space and be able to be in that space to do that.
Yes.
But it's
like writing is also, it's only one aspect of the overall musical creative process. Arranging songs and interpreting music is also a huge part of it. And, I've been thinking about this a lot over the course of making this record, about how some of my favorite music in the world that has like deeply impacted me has been music that has been made by people who were interpreting songs that were written by somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Frank Sinatra, who is like just who is an artist whose work has just like profoundly impacted me. And I've listened to him and been influenced by him as much as anybody else, if not more. But he didn't write songs.
No.
But like he was definitely a creative genius in the way that he interpreted things, and he could internalize the words and make them his own and express himself through them in a way that was very meaningful. And so that's kind of the side of the creative process that was being explored, I think, on this project.
Yeah. Well, I think people forget that back in the day, the artists didn't write their own music. They just didn't. They had songwriters. They had, Carole King. They had other people writing their songs, and everybody shared the songs. The songs were sort of, like national treasures, and anybody could reinterpret them however they wished. And the artistry was in the performance and the arrangement and the sort of like the spirit of the artist that came through in there.
And then somewhere in the late 60s, early 70s is when, people like Carole King decided, wait, I can make my own records, Yeah.
It's true. So it's just, now we call them covers, but back in the day, they were just, everybody was just singing the songs.
Right. And so that was kind of the idea that I hope has been achieved on this project, is that these songs, like, that you can listen to this record and you don't feel like, oh, these are covers.
Right.
Like you would be able to, that there's hopefully a quality in this music that is more like, this is it's interpretation, and it feels genuine, because it definitely felt that way to us when we were playing it, and to me singing it, because the songs that got chosen were songs that were all meaningful to me, and that the lyrics are things that I've resonated with in different ways.
Yeah, I think if one were to not know any of the songs on this record, one would not know what was what, right? It would feel like a cohesive record. You wouldn't be able to pick apart what's a Caterer song and what's a Golden Era standard.
Okay.
That's how it comes through.
That way. That's kind of what I was hoping for, but I don't know how successful it is until somebody else listens to it.
Well, that's my vote. Other people out there in the world, they can vote, they can comment, they can ask questions if they're actually here with us live. I'm going to make a confession. My grandpa was a big band singer at the Aragon Ballroom. And so when I first listened to this record, actually, I actually watched it. What am I saying? When I actually watched the Hideout show, like, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, my grandpa would love this. He might balk a little bit about the guitar solos, but let's see. Oh wait, hang on a second. We have a comment here. When you start talking about the actual recording,
is that up on the screen so that everybody watching?
Everybody can see this.
Well, that's my friend Paul Silver.
Hey, Paul Silver.
Paul Silver actually has been a friend of the Smoking Popes since the very beginning. He released the very first Smoking Popes 7-inch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny. Great job, Paul, because you stole one of my questions, which is what I like. You know what? Hey, I was just thinking, Josh, do you want to bring in, because this is a great question for both you and John and John. Should we bring them in?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, let's let them out of their cage and let them out on the. Okay, release the hounds. Release the hounds.
How's it going?
Hey, everybody.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
Mr. San Juan, I see you've raised the bar. You put a tie on for this.
Well,
yeah, come on, man.
We had t-shirts. This is rock and roll, man.
Well, honestly, I thought, Mimi might be wearing a tie, and
yeah.
Better not risk it,
Better not risk it.
I was gonna say I saw him a few days ago. I know he shaved too.
Oh, at some point, yeah.
Well, somebody had
a little lazy.
It's good to see you finally taking things seriously, John.
I thought today was the day. I woke up feeling good about the record coming out, and so new me.
You're supposed to dress for the role that you want, right? Don't dress for your current job. Dress for the job you want to have. So thanks for taking that advice, John. So we brought you in right as Paul Silver was asking the question about playing that. Here it is. Like, what was it like playing a live show in an empty venue?
Well, it's not the first time I've done it. But maybe the best time I've done it. One of them for sure.
Because this time it was on purpose.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, there wasn't any disappointments for sure. I think there's a lot going on here, but I think the freshness of the enterprise, the excitement that the three of us had about playing together and doing the recording, like doing a live recording where everything is, you're playing a gig, you're doing one take of each thing. Hope you're good. All of that excitement was, so the empty venue was no match for all of the goodwill that we were, abundantly bringing into the project. Perrin?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think personally on my end, I was thinking of it in some ways between a live show and a session. Or more, yeah, like in a recording vein too, but it was interesting. I mean, like, I don't want to say like somber, because that might have kind of a negative connotation.
You could say ennui or malaise.
Yeah, I was like, I'd never heard that word before. I checked out and started looking up Descendants records on Discogs. Yeah, maybe I hate to say somber, but just really focused. And there was quite a bit seemingly at stake too, knowing that everything had to be one take. So yeah, just and hoping that nothing went wrong. So that might have made me feel a little bit somber and definitely really, really focused.
I can relate to that. It's not something that I recall any of us explicitly talking about, but I do think that there was this shared feeling between us that we were kind of looking at this more like we were making a record than like we were playing a show, because we were all very aware of the fact that like we were not planning on doing any overdubs or fixes. So things had to be right. And like after the camera stopped rolling, we did end up going and doing another take of one or two of the songs that ended up being the ones that we used, I think, on two of the songs. But still, in that case, we were committed to that was going to be a complete take, right? So everything that you're hearing on the record is a take that was performed in one sweep. So that was definitely like, I don't think we were trying to like, hey, let's create this vibe of like behaving the way that we would normally behave if there was a room full of people there.
There's no Paul Stanley banter and
no Paul.
No spandex involved this time around.
Right.
Now the future Josh Caterer shows.
Yeah, yeah. The record stuff, you can feel the lack of spandex. There is a definite lack of,
it's a little bit lighter than it normally would be.
Yeah. So actually, you just
I could order this.
Spandex. You threw me off with spandex there. Oh my goodness. So okay, but you did have viewers at home. Like that was actually part of the whole plan because of the collaboration with the Hideout, right? So how did that, I get that the focus was on the live album, right? And there are lots, I think about comedians and musicians where they know that this is the night that they're recording the live album, and they tell the audience, tonight we're recording the live album, this is the night, and they put that intention into the live show, but they've got an audience there, right? So it's a little bit different.
And they do that hoping that people will laugh even louder because they will want to hear their own voices on the recording. we did not have that luxury.
No. Did you have like an intention? Did you have like a want for the audience experience for that night?
I'll say something about it and then yield to you guys. That aspect of it for me was, I was thinking about, I knew that I didn't want too much like dead space between the songs because people were going to be watching it in real time. And so I had put a little bit of thought into some of the things that I was going to say. And I thought that it might be interesting to have some specific information about the songs. Because some of what I was saying in between the songs was like, you know, who wrote the song, like what year they wrote it and things like that, to give you a little bit of that historical background. Which I didn't want to overdo that so that it became laborious, but like I had a couple of those facts on hand that I could, you know, share with people while I was like tuning my guitar. So you're not just sitting there looking at a guy tuning his guitar.
Yeah.
So I had that in mind, but like, what about you guys?
Perrin, let's go alphabetically.
Oh, come on. As far as to, I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, I mean, you answered it a little bit before when you were talking about how, you know, the focus of getting it right for each individual take. And it's interesting because Josh was talking about that need, that like yearning to perform.
Yeah.
And so there's the playing part of it, but then there's the audience feedback part of it. And so that's the sort of like a missing link.
Well, part of it that kind of impacted you, Mr. Perrin, was that you were operating the click track. Playing along with the click track is not something that we would normally do during a live show, but it's very helpful for a recording, just for purposes of consistency.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because like during the pandemic alone, I mean, like I only toured full time for a long time. So I actually got into audio engineering and had been recording for quite a while. And that had become like my daily activity as far as music before Josh called me. I mean, I was just in a room alone, playing the drums alone to a click track, which actually seemed like some good training to go into this too, to be able to follow along to a metronome, but also not have it impact, like not have it look like I'm focusing completely and can't look away. Yeah, it was a really, really interesting experience to be doing that and not have any kind of feedback. Like I think the only person in the audience was Eli, right?
Yeah.
Like Josh's brother.
Just like smiling with like.
We had a camera person, had a couple of audio engineers, but the only person who was really just watching was Eli Caterer.
Which was great.
So
you couldn't have a more enthusiastic musical listener.
Everything that we needed from an audience, he had to personally embody that. and I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, from the guy that loves us to the guy that hates us. Just
so he gave you equal parts fandom and stink eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I will say, for my part, just as I've gone deeper and deeper into my musical life, increasingly things like recording sessions, anything that was being documented, even in rehearsals, I've always tried to bring gig energy to the whole thing, as if you were opening for somebody at a sold-out Metro show or something, like, because when you listen to yourself in a playback, like, that's kind of what you want to hear, right? You want to hear that enthusiasm and that abandon, and maybe hear yourself collectively taking certain kinds of chances and showing off, if we're going to be just completely straight up about this. So some of that was, yeah, like, I know people are watching this. So yeah, this is a show for sure. But also this is being recorded, and let the record show how let the record show how on fire we were.
Right.
The records did show that. It was duly noted by the court. The records did show.
I'd like to say too, like, the thing that John just said is exactly one of the qualities I admire most about him as a musician, which, being in a band with, is also very infectious. Because I've played in groups of musicians, like, it's been a long time since this happened, but musicians where, like, everybody's just kind of not excited. So to have, and, like, I hope that I can do that too to people at some extent, but to have somebody who's, like, so enthusiastic about playing one E note is, like, so infectious. And yeah, I mean, music's supposed to be fun. So and I think that, like, I guess that relates back to my answer. It's like just making sure that this project was going to be as much fun as possible, even though it's kind of weird circumstances, and then also take the music as sincerely as possible.
Yeah.
So sincerity and fun,
That's an excellent combination, John. And what's great is the three of you had never played before together as an ensemble, right?
Right.
So, it's sort of like an experiment. It's almost like, what's that show, the British show where they put everybody in the house? Not The Real World, but sort of like The Real World. This is like The Real World for one night at the Hideout, right? Yeah. And they put three musicians with glasses on a stage, and they see what happens.
Right. You could have played with us, yeah.
I could have. I've got my egg. I've got my tambourine. I could have played keys.
If only the name started with a J, you could have joined the band.
No, if only my name were Jimmy, but it's not, or Jalissa. But this is a good opportunity because, John, you were just talking, Perrin, you were just talking about something that you really admired about John San Juan, and I feel like I just want to have a little happy moment, and I want everybody to say something that they like about the other person. So San Juan, since Perrin just said something nice about you, it's your turn. Acknowledge Mr. Perrin.
Oh my God, Uncle John, like, I wish you could see the way that, like, my youngest son and John Perrin are, like, because they're both, and then it's this personalities, music, all of it. And not that, Perrin, obviously his playing is just it's incredible. He's got all of these rapid fire musical impulses that are, it's just always the thing that I wanted to hear, and I didn't even know I wanted to hear it. And to such an extent that I'm playing to it. And I'm not trying to accredit either John or myself with any sort of, telepathy or anything like that. But yeah, the places I find myself, the bridges I find myself leaping off, like, just like look next to me, like, oh, hey, John. So either he has great instincts, which I absolutely believe, or he simply has instincts that I really, really, really dig.
Awesome.
Thank you, John. I mean, and really, it's mutual. And I think we've had these conversations. Oh, that's very sweet. Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. Like with these two too, at our whenever we rehearse, we'll play a little bit, but usually it's just mainly talking about either records or food. And really, like that comes down to playing too. I mean, we text all week too, and every now and then, like I'll ask one of them, like, "Hey, have you ever heard this record?" You know, whether it's esoteric or not. And so you realize, like, if you, and it takes a long time to accrue, you know, the knowledge of music that the three of us have. But if you've been listening to the same records for quite a while, no matter if it's Sinatra or Ramones or Descendants or what have you, Hoagie Carmichael, you'll have a lot of really cool mutual instincts, I guess. And that, you know, you can kind of get that hive mind thing.
Yeah. And
especially like with John as a rhythm section too, like, you know, both loving all genres of music. So
you guys definitely are in sync with each other in a way that I don't think you should shy away from the word telepathy. There is some kind of, you know, non-spoken, like telekinetic kind of connection between you guys, and I can hear it, you know, listening back to the record. Like when we're playing it, it's all just, I don't know, you can't stop to like focus on these things. But as I listen back to the record now, there are these moments where you guys are really locked in, and it's not just the part. It's not like, you know, the kick drum pattern that you've locked into with the bass part. It's like these moments that are kind of some of the exploratory moments where something improvisational is happening, but the two of you come together and like hit the same nail at the same time, like you're in sync with each other, listening to each other, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Both having the same outrageous musical
first
choices
name
at the exact same time.
Yeah, such outrageous first names.
It'd be really cool if we just did a bunch of triplets like The Who for like 2 bars.
Oh no, yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, you know, it's like having a similar sense of smell or something, and you drive through a certain part of the song, and it's like, I think I'm going to pull off and get donuts. And, you know, usually Perrin is also, you know, he's game. You know?
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
Well, you're primed for touring then. You're primed for touring. It's funny because I was thinking about it. Normally on record release day, you would have a record release show, right? You'd have a show to play the new songs off the new album. And this is the exact opposite. You had the record release show when you recorded it back in October, and now we're talking about it and we're, you know, unpacking all the goodies of what it was like.
Yes.
Well, that's true, except it's looking like we are going to have a record release show coming up that's going to be another virtual show, at which we will take the opportunity to record another batch of songs for another record. We're already working on them. We've got the songs picked out and we've started rehearsals for it.
There's already a sequel.
Yeah.
You guys are just like Marvel. You're like, you know, you already got the sequel before the movie even out.
This is Lord of the Rings stuff, and there's gotta be part 2.
So are you taking a similar approach? Like, is it going to have a similar like standards kind of vibe, or okay?
Yeah, just a different batch of songs from the same. Like, I feel like we're still in it. I feel like we're kind of like.
When you say in it, are you talking about the weird world? Or are you talking about being in the zone of the album?
I feel like the creative zone of the album. Like, I feel like making another one of these albums wouldn't be like doing a follow-up or trying to recreate anything. I feel like it's more like we're sitting on like a vat of creative like juice or whatever, and we've only let out a one portion of it, and there's a lot more in the vat. We got to get it all out of there, otherwise it's gonna blow.
I can't wait to see this vat.
Yeah.
I want to know where it is. I want to know what it looks like.
You know, I don't think
we can't go around telling people where the vat is.
Don't tell people where the vat is. Oh, we have a request from Paul.
For sure. Well, we'll put that one through the put that one in the hopper and see what happens. We'll put it in the vat.
Yeah,
put it in the vat.
We'll fish around in there and see if it's in the vat.
You guys are awesome. So that was somebody telling everybody how awesome they were,
including you, Nini.
Aw, thanks. I'll take it. I'll take a little awesome. Why not?
Oh, I like that song. Cool.
Hey, so aside from this new record that is TBD that people are now already starting to like think about in their heads, don't focus on that record yet. Focus on the now. Be in the present.
Yeah.
Think about this record. Think about the beauty of this record. Look at these handsome devils.
Look at that lovely gatefold.
Oh my gosh, look at the gatefold. Look at the, this is a weird thing that I do. I love, maybe some of you guys do this. Do you ever smell the vinyl?
Oh yeah.
I haven't smelled the vinyl.
I've been known to.
Smell the vinyl.
Poly-lined inner sleeve, Melissa, isn't that?
It is I feel like I'm on QVC right now.
If I were selling this to the people, the kind of people I hang with, I've just made my pitch, I think.
That stuff matters to record collectors.
All right. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to go smell the vinyl.
Smell the vinyl. Yeah, that can be the name of your next record.
Sounds like a euphemism for something else. But
I can set up a separate Zoom for us later to smell, do a sync smell.
Vinyl sniffing like party.
It should be like an ASMR thing where we all get together and we just like feel the vinyl and we
can stream it. I don't care.
Yeah. Totally stream it. Oh my gosh.
Is it possible to make scratch and sniff records?
You can make scratch and sniffs still. Oh God, what's
Lemonheads just did one.
Yeah.
Varshan's 2, their last record. I got it from their drummer Lee and it smells like bananas.
Oh yeah.
Very pleasant.
What part of it smells? The actual vinyl itself?
Not the vinyl, the cover. We could make one that smells like the Hideout.
Which part of the Hideout?
I feel like I'm going to have an email from Tim Tootin when this is all over. Like, okay, so how do we go about doing the smell, the scratch and sniff?
Well, yeah, you could make this part the scratch and sniff. I'll call up Smashed Plastic right now. We'll get it going.
Tim being very enthusiastic about that idea, as he is enthusiastic about all things. God.
Oh my gosh, he's the most enthusiastic person I've ever met.
Exactly, yeah.
He's so enthusiastic.
He is, and it's a beautiful thing. And I called him up to ask him. This is so funny. Like, I called him and left a message with him on his voicemail to say, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, but I was like, hey, Tim, this is Josh, Caterer from Smoking Popes, and I've got this idea about this kind of project that I want to see if we could do it at the Hideout, and want to see if it's something that you're into. Give me a call back. And then a little while later, he called me back, but I missed the call, and I got a voicemail from him, and he was like, Josh, I don't know what your idea is, but whatever it is, you can do it.
I love that man so much. Yeah, but he's just all in. He's 100% all in all the time.
Oh, he was just nothing but supportive. And when I explained to him what it was, he was just like, we had this long conversation about like the loss that we were all feeling of live music and the kind of the community of people, not just the club, but like the community of clubs and the community of people that come to the club, and like how meaningful it could be to do something like this. And he's definitely like a person who's thinking about these things from from the heart and with a lot of passion, and was so supportive of the idea, which I expected. I knew that he would, because he's like that with all the bands that play at that club, and he's always been like that towards us, and I know he's always like that towards people that come through the club. And so we're very grateful to him and to everybody at the Hideout for hosting this and making it possible.
Yeah, we love the Hideout. We should have a big banner. Justin, make it happen. We love the Hideout. Because we do love the Hideout. And what's fun is there is a community feel when an album like this comes out, because you did it to create this, like, you created a piece of love. Like, this is just like a nice piece of love. And I will tell you that, we love the Hideout. Yes.
Hey.
When I've been going around to record stores. So, everybody, this is out today. You can get it online at pravdamusic.com. You can also get it at the local record stores. I went to Lori's. We sent it to Rediscover Records in Elgin. Dave's Records has it.
I used to work at Rediscover.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Rich is so awesome. I love Rich. And
Shout out to Rich.
Shout out to Rich at Rediscover. He'll appreciate that. And Rattleback is going to have it, and Record Breakers and Milwaukee, like all these record stores, and out in Oak Park, the record stores in Oak Park have it. Like, the record stores were so excited about it. And
the record store near me is called Kiss the Sky Records.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know if they have it?
I will make sure that they have it.
Yeah.
And I will kiss the sky, and I will not kiss the sky. There
is a guy in there you could kiss if you wanted to.
Okay, I'll put it. I'll add him to the list.
Well, okay, we're in a pandemic. I mean, let's.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would need to see proof of vaccination.
Do you have the card?
Oh, goodness.
Okay, we only have like 5 or 6 minutes. People, if you're out there in the world and you're actually live with us, most people probably will watch this recorded. But if you actually happen to be live with us right now and you have a burning question for Josh or John or Mimi, like, ask the question, because now is your time.
Now or never.
Okay, Josh, your voice, it's just one of those melting voices. And my grandma used to have one of the organs, one of the double organs. And so when I would go to my grandma's this with the pedals, right?
The tandem organ, yeah.
And I think it was a Wurlitzer. And we'd go there every Sunday. And so I'd go to Sunday school, and then during church, I would eat bacon and play the organ. And so that goes hand in hand, right? And as soon as I would hit that vibrato key, and it would go, when I listen to your voice, it just takes me back to like my grandma's organ and bacon and Misty.
The voice makes you think about bacon. That is the best compliment I've ever received.
Your voice is better than bacon, Josh Caterer. Top that.
Hopefully it's better for you.
It's delicious and nutritious. Josh Caterer, everybody. So if there's one thing that you want fans to know about this record, what is it?
Oh, you guys have anything to say in that off the top of your heads?
Definitely Josh's voice is, it's the prime ingredient. And the fact that, I'm a Smoking Bulbs fan. I know John is. And yet he goes into this completely different musical family. And there it is, the Josh Caterer voice is still, steering the ship.
Well, it's very nice of you to say that. And it's a lovely sentiment. But like, I feel like what you guys both bring to this band, and not only to this project, but just like to what we are as a collective musical identity is so inspired and inspiring. I've said this in other interviews recently, but I'll say it to you guys, to your virtual faces, that like I feel like I'm playing with a couple of like seasoned jazz musicians. And that's not to say that this album sounds like jazz, because I don't think it does, but I feel like you guys are going for it in the way that like really good jazz musicians would do, like guys who have made a career out of like listening for these little openings in the song where you can do something that's gonna be a little burst of inspiration but that isn't gonna draw attention to itself. It's just gonna like sort of slightly elevate everything. And so there's a ton of, I think the truly interesting moments on this record come from you guys. Like the thing that I'm doing, I'm just kind of singing the song. But if you really want like the stuff that like pops and truly has like depth to it, you listen to what you guys are doing, like at pretty much any moment throughout the record.
I mean, it is really interesting because I think that might get lost on some people because it's something I as a musician don't really think about. But that entire record, if you offered me, say, you know, some exuberant amount of money, I could not play that record note for note as it stands. Like, I don't even remember a lot of, because with this music, you know, we'll come up with an arrangement, say like I'll have a specific beat I'm going to keep in mind, but everything is so completely improvisational or open to interpretation at any given time. So like even like off of My Funny Valentine, the fills I'm putting in between each thing, like it's all completely 100% improvised, which takes a lot of focus. And also, yeah, it's like immediately after we got done, it was like, what did I just do? Was that good? Like, you know, and it's weird because as a musician, that's how I naturally play these days because of the musicians around me who've shaped me. And it's weird because I don't always think of it that could be a way that most musicians aren't now. You know, taking these leaps, musically speaking. But also, the one thing I'm really proud of is just how I always believe that if you're completely sincere about the music you're playing, it's going to come across in the playing. Yeah. And so anything I'm ever involved with, I don't want to do it unless everybody's sincere, and that really shines through on this recording.
Yeah, you're three sincere fellas. And I'm sincerely grateful for the time that we had today.
Do you mean that?
Together.
Are you sincere?
I totally sincerely. I do. This was so fun. I mean, the thing is that, think about it. It's so rare that we actually get to have these little conversations anymore. I mean, normally we would have these at the bar at the Hideout. And, you know, we'd raise a glass and we'd say, here's to the new record. I'm raising the glass right now to the new record, the Hideout Sessions, that you can get.
I have a chocolate shake.
You have a chocolate shake? Okay, everybody.
Empty Spindrift can.
Okay, we're all toasting to the Hideout Sessions. Thank you to the Hideout.
Yeah.
Thank you to Josh Caterer. Thank you to John Perrin. Thank you to John San Juan. Thank you to Chicago For Real. If you're new to Chicago For Real, check it out. Subscribe at Twitch. Check out Twitch. It's Chicago For Real. There's so much great stuff going on here every day, all week long. So anyhow, we really appreciate you taking the time to do the record release party with us here.
Oh yeah, thank you for like capping off our record release day with this virtual party event. It's been really cool. Thanks for doing it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks, Paul.